Hello and welcome back to my channel. Whether you are looking for something new to read in the new year, whether you're looking for Christmas gifts for your friends and family, or whether you are looking for something that you can tell your friends and family to get for you for Christmas, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna tell you the 12 books that I read this year that were 5-star reads and that you should probably read because they might change your life and give you a great time. We're gonna start off with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. Even though this is a trilogy, the third book just came out this year. It's really ironic, honestly. The book that I'm actually recommending is neither of these books. This is the first book and the third book. It's the second book. You definitely have to read the first book before picking up the second book, but I would say get through the first book because you're excited for the second book. Because the second book, A Ballad of Never After, I gave it 5 stars. I said it was 1,000,000 times better than book 1. You just get like so much of the characters. Hi, babies. You're gonna lay my lap. You just get so much banter between the love interests and it's literally so good. The series is very like whimsical, fairy tale-esque. So you follow the main character, Evangeline, and it starts out with her coming to the Prince of Hearts, which is Jax, telling him, hey, I'd like to make a deal with you because the love of my life is getting married to my stepsister and it's a huge mistake. You have to help me and stop this wedding. And then things just happen and it snowballs, and before you know it, they're getting swept away to this faraway land where they go on this adventure, and it's very castles and princesses and love interest that you will fall in love with, and he's morally gray and we love him. And if you love him, which you will by the end of book 1, then book 2, which is 100% him, is so good. Then moving on to the next book, I'm actually gonna talk about 2 books by this author because I love her. You might know her because she does Daisy Jones and the Six, which is now a TV show which I need to watch, but I listened to 2 of her books on audiobook and they were phenomenal. So freaking good. She gets a lot of her audiobooks to be read by Julia Whelan. I actually read a couple of her books for a different video where I read books by authors with the same last name as me. Her audiobook narrations are just stunning. She does like the male and the female characters and you literally could not tell. They're so good. So to start off, Malibu Rising was such a heartbreaking story and I was stunned by it. So you basically follow this famous family. They're famous for surfing and they are throwing a party. Like goes through the day leading up to the party and then the party. Also throughout the story like gives you background knowledge on both their parents as well as their story, and the love story is so heartbreaking, and like their family and like how they overcome what they overcome and like get to where they are today. It is such a good story and I think the audiobook was done really well. I loved it. I felt all the feels and it was such a good time. Now the second book that I'm recommending is Carrie Soto is Back, and when I say this is the best, hands down the best audiobook I've ever read or listened to, I am not lying. It was so freaking good. I was in the story. I don't know how else to describe it, but I was so invested. And it's not a like subject that I would think I'd be invested in. Carrie Soto's Back is about this tennis player who's retired and someone is about to beat her world record, and so she comes out of retirement to try and maintain her record. I'm gonna be real with you guys, okay? When I first heard that synopsis, I said, tennis player, I'm not really a sports girly and I don't really like tennis, so I'm not gonna like it. And then I didn't read it. The cover is not my favorite. I just was very like, it's not for me. Can I tell you that that is the most wrong statement that I will probably ever make? It was so good. The audiobook was fantastic. Like, I cannot rave about this book more because I feel like people are getting annoyed with me now. I tell everybody about this book, like, literally constantly. If you know me in real life, like, I know I've mentioned it because I'm obsessed. It was so freaking good. First off, the audiobook is amazing because they really get you in it. They have a huge cast of narrators, and when you're like reading a sports casting thing, they have like music and they're like ba-na-na-na, and we're back talking about Carrie Soto, blah blah, and then like they go on and like every single tennis match, I'm so invested. I've literally never watched tennis in my life, y'all. I don't know how to convince you more because it's so good and I was so invested. And when I tell you, people told me going into it, they were like, oh yeah, I cry, it's so sad, blah blah, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna feel feels about a tennis book. I'm gonna tell you that right now, I'm not gonna feel it. Why was I sobbing right along with everybody else? It's so good. Please give it a chance. And if you are an audiobook listener, what are you waiting for? Literally, what are you waiting for? I cannot say anymore. That's my speech. Moving on, I read the first 3 books in the Lore Olympus series. Such a good story. So these are graphic novels, and before this year I wasn't really into graphic novels that much, but I feel like these are so good. So if you haven't heard me talking about it already, the Lore Olympus series is a graphic novel series which basically is a retelling of the story of Persephone and Hades and how they fall in love. First off, the illustrations are literally so good. Second off, if you are a Greek mythology girly or guy, this is Greek mythology for adults in picture form. It doesn't get better than that. I don't know, it's such an easy read. You can finish it in like a couple hours and you'll just feel good at the end. It's a bunch of mutual pining, and there are some trigger warnings. And the first book, I think I only gave 4 stars, but book 2 and book 3 were wow, were chef's kiss. If you like Greek mythology, read them. If you like graphic novels, read them. If you like mutual pining and a cute love story, read them. Then I read Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and I don't know why, but this one was literally just so cute to me. I finished it and I think one day I just couldn't put it down. I was reading it on my phone and I don't know why, it did it for me. It was so cute. It's about 2 scientists and they have to work, I think it's NASA or something, together on this project, and they've hated each other since college. It's so good. It's just a cute little comfort read. I really enjoyed it. Boy Falls First, Enemies to Lovers, 2 Scientists, top tier material for you. Next, I talked about this series a lot this year, but The Inheritance Games, this is probably one of my favorite books I've read this year. It's so freaking good. I was rereading my review for this before this video, and I was writing down my notes and stuff, and I literally at the end of this wrote, thank you for reminding me what a good book feels like. This was a stay up all night reading book. This was a tell all your friends about it and get them to buy it book. This was a get in your feels book. I loved it. I gave this first book 5 stars. I gave the second and third book 4.5 stars. It's a cute little trilogy. It's about this girl who inherits a bunch of money from this guy. Plot twist, she's never met the man, and so she's like, why am I getting all this money from him? And the only stipulation is she has to live in the house with the family who's not getting the money for a whole year. It's mysterious. It gives very Knives Out vibes. Every single chapter is super short. They're 1-2 pages for chapters, and every single one ends on a cliffhanger. I'm just gonna open up randomly. This one ends in a question mark. This one, I just flipped to chapter 46, which is a crazy moment. It's literally so good. Please read it. I can't rave about it enough. I really just can't. Okay, so read this book or get it for somebody. who loves reading, because they'll love it. And if they don't, then you can comment on my video. I recommended this book and they didn't love it. And I'll just be sad. But I really hope and think that everyone will love this book. I will say the one friend that I recommended this book series to, Bryn, if you're watching this, she loved it. So that's 2 people saying they love the book. So just go read it. A fan favorite, I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and wow, like when I tell you this book had a hold on me, it had a real hold on me. Here's why. It's good. It's really good. Like when I read the synopsis, I was like, it'll be okay. Who was I kidding? I love fantasy. It's a great fantasy novel. There's dragons. There's going to a school to become a badass. There's fighting and hand-in-hand combat, and you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. The feels, the spice, it's there. It is there, and I loved it. I loved it. I sobbed. I laughed. I was a mess. I could not stop talking about this book for days, for weeks. It's Dauntless meets dragons meets the Court of Mist and Fury. The feels are immaculate. This one was another one where I stayed up all night reading. I went to bed 3 hours before I had to get up for work the next day. But it also reminded me why I love reading. And the second book just came out, so you could get your friend or your family member this book and the second book, or you could just get them this book and you can get it also for yourself. Just trust me, okay? Just get this book, okay? Just read this book. I know I'm late to the game because I know like most of the world has read this book already, but if you haven't read this book already, yeah, book talk can lead you astray very often. I feel that constantly when I read a book and I'm like, was the whole world read this book and what? But this one is not that kind of read. This one is the whole world read this book, and I'm glad the whole world read this book because now I have the whole world to talk to. Except none of my friends have actually read this book, so if you are one of my friends, please read this book so I can talk to you about it because I'm dying inside. I'm dying. Another book from my list that I think that you might enjoy. This is for my classical girlies out there, or guys. I keep forgetting about y'all. Just you're in there. When I say girlies, I'm also talking to you guys, okay? So just don't be offended, okay? The Old Man and the Sea by Mr. Ernest Hemingway. Yeah, it hit. It was really good. It's just a really like compelling story and beautiful writing and beautiful descriptions, and the way that Ernest Hemingway like describes the ocean and the sea and this man's love for what he's doing, like it's unmatched. It's a classic for a reason, and it was a really good time. Also, I listened to that one on audiobook, and the audiobook was so good because it was just like an old man like talking to me, telling me about his time. I don't know, something about it really put me in like, I'm a fisherman on my boat getting my fish, you know what I mean? Top tier book, and it's such a quick, easy read. I think it's like 89 pages. 3 more recommendations for you. Aurora's End. So that was book 3 in the Aurora Rising series. I gave book 1 also 5 stars. I gave book 2 4 stars, and I gave book 3 5 stars. I thought this series was just so fun. I just really liked it. It's hard to describe. There's a lot happening. It's a sci-fi book that follows like multiple POVs, and they are all like kind of intertwined in this journey. I kind of think that you should just go into it blind. I feel like the only reason why it's not like a top tier book series is because it's a little bit slow at times, but like once everything gets like put together and you like see what's going on, like you see the mastermindness behind every single action and like interaction and everything, it is a stunning last book. The end had me crying. The characters and the message are so good, and I just really enjoyed it. Another book I read this year, which came out at the beginning of this year, was Hellbent by Miss Leigh Bardugo. She is one of my all-time favorite authors. She did 6 of Crows, amazing. And then she did Ninth House. This was the second book in that series. I thought Ninth House was a pretty good read. It has definitely, like, trigger warning. It has some very graphic adult topics that it talks about, and it can be very unsettling. However, it's just really spicy, mysterious, twists and turns in every way. Wow, it's such a good, like, fall winter read. I'd highly recommend reading it at that time. It's about this girl who goes to one of the Ivy Leagues, and it's kind of about her joining this, like, secret society because she can see ghosts, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. Really cool, interesting, creepy read that makes you just feel like ugh, but also a little warm inside at the same time. The last book that I'm gonna recommend, I liked this book, and it's a series, but I probably won't keep reading the series. It was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I'm just obsessed with V.E. Schwab. I think she's an amazing author, and this was not my favorite book by her. However, it was a really good book. I gave it 5 stars. It's kind of like a superhero book written in the villain's perspective, so just like really interesting. All the characters have such depth. It's also got that mysterious, eerie vibe, but yet it's like very endearing. I definitely highly would recommend reading it in like the fall or the winter. I think that would be really cool for the vibes. That is my 2023 book recommendations from the reads that are the freshest in my mind. If you get anything from this video, I would say my top 2 books this year were Fourth Wing and Carrie Soto's Back. If you like fantasy, Fourth Wing, and if you like reading good books, read Carrie Soto's Back. And especially if you like audiobooks or you're trying out audiobooks, I would recommend that audiobook. I will see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, comment your favorite book, or if you've read any of these books, and let me know what your thoughts were, any book recommendations that you guys have, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy holidays!